3, 2, 1, go. Here we are, episode 6, CrossFit for Dodge Way.
What's up, guys?
We've went through different components of CrossFit today. We've talked about constant variation and how it's important to vary up our workouts. We've talked about intensity and how it means more than just laying on the ground. Today we're going to get into an awesome one, functional movement. This is one of Brock's passions about this, so he's going to take the lead here. He's going to talk about functional movements today. Brock, take it away.
All right, first off, game day.
I did see that, yeah.
World champ still.
For today.
He
did preference that they might need a couple of weeks to warm up.
A little bit. I have faith in him though. Want to know. All right, guys. So we're gonna talk about functional movement today. It's what we do in CrossFit, right? It's what we build our workouts around. So some things to note about them. They're natural movements. All right. You don't really have to teach someone these, right? Mainly when we focus on our fundamental classes and teaching movement, we're reteaching natural patterns of the body, right?
I think that's actually key, the reteaching component.
Exactly.
It's movements that we learn naturally, and they come naturally to us. But because if we haven't exercised or we live our life in a desk and a couch, we've actually lost some of these movements, but we should be able to pick them up pretty quickly, and our bodies are intended to move that way.
That's why they call it a natural person, right? Someone who's like naturally athletic or naturally gifted at that, is because we are designed to do that, right? And then some people, they just lose that along the way, which isn't a bad thing. We just need to reteach it, right? That's why you obviously see these adolescent little kids and toddlers performing the perfect squats you'll ever see, right? Yeah. And it's like, how do they know how to do that? Because they are built to do that, right? Same thing with picking something off the ground, right? Bring it to the shoulder, bringing it overhead, right? These are natural movements, right? And then we give them names, right? We call it the squat, we call it the clean, we call it the press, right? But even long time ago, before we had names for that, those were still movements, right? It wasn't something we just
The name doesn't make the movements,
no,
right?
It doesn't.
We didn't make
call
up
it
the press, right?
Yeah.
We didn't make up the push press. We did the push press when we got something over our shoulders and we needed to get it above our head. Yeah. And we just did it naturally.
It's something that we did, and obviously we coined a term for it, right? So kind of getting into it, obviously there's other movements out there, lateral raises, bicep curls, right? Not saying that those aren't really functional, right? Obviously the term functional can mean a lot of things. If it pertains to something you're doing and it benefits another aspect of something, it could be functional, right? But in the CrossFit world, right, and obviously how most people want to define a functional movement is something that you're going to be able to move a large load, right, a long distance and quickly, right, and that kind of turns into an intensity thing as well. So kind of an example here, let's take the bicep curl and the power clean, for example, because they're really two similar things that are going on. What one are you going to be able to move a larger load with? More than likely the power clean, okay? Unless you don't train it a lot, but you got massive biceps. Right. But naturally, you will be able to move a larger load with the power clean, right? It's a natural movement, right? And a long distance, okay? Obviously in a let's say even a hang clean, because it's similar to a bicep curl. You're taking it from your thigh position to your shoulder position, right? Or in the bicep curl, you're not going as high, right? And you're not moving as long of a distance. And obviously we can break it down even more. Power clean, we can take from the ground to overhead, and then obviously we can take it.
What's great, using this continued illustration of the bicep curl versus a power clean, is how it's making it from an isolated movement, which we consider a bicep curl, to a functional movement, is that we're actually going to use more of the body. Rather than just only bending at the elbow. With the power clean, we're going to be able to incorporate our hips, get them moving, we're going to be incorporate our shoulders, we're going to include our legs. So because we're using more body parts, we're able to do it quicker and more efficiently. I think quickly can be equated to efficiently. And obviously, at this one multiplanar joint in the bicep curl, we can't move a large load because we're not using as many joints. We're not using as much of the body. And so functional, kind of that's where it can turn into an isolated movement to a functional movement, is we're using more than a single joint and a single muscle.
Exactly, yeah. So you're our, touched on it really good. You're trying to recruit more musculature throughout a duration of time and distance, right? And then the last is obviously quickly. Power cleans. The Olympic lifts are probably two of my favorite movements because they're super functional, right? They are so explosive. You're probably traveling the longest distance of anything.
Hi, Mom. I'm just waving hi to my mom.
Want to say hi?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, I mean, you're literally going from the ground to overhead, right? That's a long distance compared to like a deadlift or anything, which is obviously functional, but it's happening in a quick manner, right? And that's where the intensity lies. So next up, obviously talking about quarter extremity, right? Most of, or if not all of the movements that we try to incorporate in CrossFit radiate from our torso into our extremities, right? Out to our legs and arms. It all correlates with each other, right? More quarter extremity means more loads, more distance traveled, and quicker. So just kind of thinking about that. The power clean, right? We always tell people, relax the arms, okay? Relax the hands. So in that manner is because we're wanting to use our hips and our torso and our bigger muscle groups, which again is more functional, to move those loads because we're going to be able to move larger loads in that order.
Absolutely.
Right?
So I think to touch on that core extremity part is pretty much, whether we like to believe it or not, if we're not completely supported, going back to the bicep curl, the only thing time a bicep curl isn't even a quarter extremity motion is if you're on the preacher curl. And you're completely supported and that arm is completely supported and you're bending.
Yeah.
Even if you're standing, you kind of still got to engage your core a little bit so you don't tip over. So the core extremity is super important, and we like to teach people this because it is a safe way to move as well.
Yes.
If your core is ready to move and you generate the power from your core, and then the power radiates from the center of your body and the center of your core out to your extremities, and you're using your appendages, whether it's your leg or your arm, you're using that as kind of like the fulcrum to move the object you're trying to move. And so all that power is generated here in tight where all of our real big muscles are. When we talk about this being like the engine, and then like the shoulders and the hips being like the transmission to turn the tires, whether it's our arms or our legs, to propel movement in that regard. So it's good to practice this core to extremity movement to generate power.
And then kind of the last thing we'll touch on in functional movement is, he kind of talked about it. It's going to prepare you for things outside of the gym, right? More than likely, a bicep curl is not going to benefit you anywhere else except doing bicep curls. Now we're talking about accessory work and stuff, but more than likely,
I think
right?
it's good, yeah. And so I think it's good to differentiate between the accessory work is good when done appropriately and done in balance. I think where people, when we consistently perform functional movements, I think we can reduce our rate of injury because we are using a whole body, where people that will only do isolated movements and only one body part movements sometimes will overtrain and not create balance in their training. And so I think we can more easily create a balance in the body training when we're performing functional movements rather than isolated.
And not that the bicep curl is wrong, right?
No,
we're not trying to hate
yeah,
on it. It's just we're showing the differences and showing the purpose of it, right? There's multiple purposes to anything. So
curls are for girls. We like girls.
For the girls. Girls for the girls. Ladies, you can always do tries for the guys.
Tries for the guys.
Tries for the guys. But yeah, so they're gonna help you in your everyday life, right? So obviously Halloween's coming up, right? You probably got a bunch of gifts either in your attic or down in your basement. More than likely, you are going to be performing a deadlift, right? You're going to be performing some form of overhead skill, right? So that's what, again, we mean. We go back to that natural movement, right? You do these things already, or lack thereof. So if you're training them in the gym and strengthening those movement patterns and those skills, injury-free, right? That is probably the number one reason why we do what we do in the gym, right? Some of us want to obviously lift as much as we can, but all of us want to live pain-free and a healthy lifestyle. So
that's a perfect way of looking at it, is looking at the movements we do in the gym as practice. If we're an athlete and we're an athlete of life, the gym is kind of like practice for the game time, which game time is life. And so if we can practice lifting things off the ground in the gym and pressing things overhead, when we're in game time, our body's prepared to do it. So when our child jumps off something at us and we catch them, we've prepared and practiced for holding functional movements in the gym. Or if we have to pick up a rock when we're out landscaping, we've practiced that in the gym so that when we get in game time of life, we're ready to roll. So the only last thing, actually he said last thing, but the other thing that I like to hit on, the reason we do functional movements is, again, CrossFit is all about doing, and we might just do it, we just had another topic idea, but we want to do the minimum effective dose. So what that means is we want to try to get the best bang out of our workouts.
Yes.
And when we're doing this, when we're using multi-joints, and doing these functional movements, so we're creating all these big muscle groups and we're using the whole body, in a shorter period of time during our workouts, we can burn more calories, put more demand on the body, creating better results in a shorter period of time. And so that's another added benefit of doing these functional movements.
Give us more work.
You bet. So, I think we hammered this good. I think we nailed functional movements today. So as far as things to look forward to, we actually are currently working on a nutrition challenge. We hinted last time. We're going to hint some more. We're looking for a start date of October 1st. Just to give you the gist, the goal of this is going to help people get their nutrition in check. Our kind of premise is going to be eating good foods in appropriate quantities. That's going to be really what it comes down to, is those two basic things. And so we're going to help people get into that. We're going to create a challenge so that there's an incentive to do better. So look forward for more information on that. Probably our next couple of podcasts will be outlining that and talking about that in the next couple of weeks. And then probably, I like the idea of I like this minimum effective dose talk. So that might be on the topic next. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Continue questions, concerns, comments, let us know. We're going to do what we can do to continue to add value. Peace out.
Go Birds!